Go for it, Brian.
Hey guys, Brian Schroeder here with Buyers Club Live. Good to see everybody on this Wednesday at noon, the day before Halloween. Any trick-or-treaters out there? Who trick-or-treats versus go hands out candy?
I'm a
You're
trick or treater.
you're a trick-or-treater. Dustin's a a lot of trick-or-treaters. I'm
Still
I'm
trick or treating.
I'm gonna be we gotta have both sides, you know. You gotta have the trick-or-treaters and you gotta have the candy hander-outers. I'm a hander-outer this time. But good to see everybody today. We have Cameron Cathcart gonna be doing a case study for us today. And I got lots of questions for Cam. I haven't talked to him a lot recently, so it's always good when he's on because for those that don't know, Cam lives pretty much full-time in Hawaii, from the St. Louis area, so he knows the market well, and I think he's got pretty strong boots on the ground here in the local market. And but just the idea of somebody living in Hawaii and flipping in St. Louis, I think is pretty cool. And building a portfolio of rentals here in St. Louis. So we're going to be talking to Cam today. He's going to talk about one of his deals. We got a good group here this morning. I always ask everybody if you can have your camera on because it just helps with the way our video looks and stuff. So, but if you're driving or something, no huge deal. But if you can, it's always appreciated. And I think Cam enjoys a little feedback. So during his presentation and after his presentation, make sure you're like asking questions or just hooting and hollering or whatever, just to make this entertaining. So Cam, are you ready to take it over?
I think so. Let me exit out of some tabs. Just my computer has been running really slow, so I don't want it to let me exit out of Slack. Slack, I always know that it slows it down.
He just doesn't want to be embarrassed by the open tabs. How to spell burr.
I am ready. So let's dive in if you want me to. If you're
Go for it.
all right. So I'm talking about a house, which actually I'm embarrassed because I see Elvira on here, and I don't know Fat John personally, but I know that you do South City. So this is a house we did in South City, and honestly, it is the worst deal that we have ever done, hands down. And I do feel like you just learn a lot more through the houses that you lose on than the houses that you win on. And so I think there's a lot of learning lessons for me and for our company personally, but I think that can be translated to everybody. And so I'm talking about a house that we did in McKinley Heights. At least I think it's McKinley Heights. It's part of the problem. I don't know the area. But we did it. It's off of Missouri Ave. Beautiful house, but we did everything wrong on it, and we also got unlucky on it. And so ended up losing quite a bit of money on it. So the first thing I think like for me, the easiest way to just show you guys this deal is just to talk you through like my thought process when I was buying it, my numbers when I was buying it versus what it ended up being. And so do you care if I do that?
Let's do it.
Do it.
All right, let's do that. Give me one sec and pull up my screen. I'll make sure this is right. So here is the house that we bought. And we bought it about a year ago. Let me just share right here. Are you guys able to see this?
Yep.
Love it. Perfect. So this is the house we bought about a year ago. And so I was sent this lead from actually a high school friend who lives in the area, was walking the neighborhood, had noticed that this had been sitting there vacant for a long time and there was no work being done on it. And so he reached out to the owner and got the owner interested, and then wholesaled it to us. And it seemingly was a good deal. So it was a new build. That is one of the mistakes I've made. I've never taken over a new build before. I don't even know how to take over a new build. We've done primarily houses like our buy box. I mean, we're kind of all over the place, but our favorite houses are houses built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. We know what we're getting into. Like we love the 3-bed, 2-bath, rectangular ranch that is built in 1970. We can get in there and we can make those beautiful for $65,000-$70,000. We know exactly what we're getting into every single time. Those are the houses that we make the most money on. Those are the houses that are the easiest for us. That is what we love. And primarily we buy in the North County, West County, St. Charles County area. So we have done some flips down in the city, but even in the city, we're sticking to Lindenwood Park area, St. Louis Hills. We're not going to this part of the city. I would like the south, deep south city part. And so but I saw this house and I saw pictures of it, and everything was new on it because it was a new build, and they had cabinets ordered already. They had flooring, paint. It was electrical was run. It actually looked like a really easy rehab to me. And so put together numbers on the rehab. I'll show you just run through the pictures of it real quick. But like HVAC was new, hot water heater, electrical, everything was fine in it. So I didn't think that it was going to be a very hard rehab. And so I put together numbers on it, and I don't think that I was super far off on these numbers. Let me pull up comp. So this is the house right here, and it's 2,300 square feet. And looking at houses in the area, like here's one that was 2,400 square feet, $425,000. I mean, you have a 3-bed, 3-bath, same size as ours, that went for $435,000. You have this that's a 4-bed, 4-bath, same size as ours, that went for $500,000. You go out a little bit farther. This is all within a quarter of a mile, but you go out, what are we at right now? 0.4 miles. You have some really high comps right here. A 475, 3-bed, 3-bath, same size. And so after putting together numbers on this house, my ARV, I was actually pretty conservative on it, and I was running it as a 400 to 420 ARV. And I ended up putting it under contract at $272,000. And my rehab on it was, hey, we're just going to put back together kind of what the rehabber didn't finish. And we kind of got the sob story behind the rehabber, not the sobs. Well, it's sad. They were rehabbing it. They got divorced in the middle of it. They both hated each other and they didn't want to finish it. At least that's what I was told. And so I don't know if that's completely true, but that's what I was told. And so I really thought we could put this together for $50,000. I thought $400,000, honestly, after looking at comps, was also a conservative estimate for that house on the ARV. So I usually put together like a base case, best case, worst case scenario. I don't have all of those filled out here, but I honestly thought that there was a chance that this could go for 430, 440 after looking at comps. So I thought that $39,000 would be our net after realtor fees, holding costs, interest. I was wrong. So we got into the house and we started rehabbing it, and that was where everything fell apart. So first of all, we didn't check permits, pulled permits, anything like that. This person, I don't know how they did this, but they did that entire thing unpermitted. And so we had to literally rip out everything and put it back together. And so we had to rip out all of the drywall, expose the plumbing, expose the electrical. We had to rip out everything and put it back together. So we ended up just doing a completely brand new, instead of just putting the flip that they had started back together, we ended up doing a completely new flip on the house. And so
hey Cam, can I ask you a couple questions real quick? So you keep calling it a flip. Was it a flip or was it a ground up new construction?
sorry, the house, it was ground up new construction. We bought it after it was already.
So this house is just like, you know, a couple months old, or, you know, it was in the process of being built and just never finished.
Yeah, I think they started it in 2022, if I remember correctly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you
So
say they never pulled permits, I mean, how do you not pull permits on new construction? I've never heard of this
no
before.
idea. No idea. And we spent days in, well, I didn't, but our project manager spent days at the, what was it? What's it called? The office down there, trying to figure it out. And it sucked too, because it put us behind, because he talked to one person that would tell him to talk to another person that we wouldn't then tell him to talk to another person. And it was just an absolutely terrible process. At one point that we went there and they didn't even, one person at the office said that they didn't even know that there was a house there, that in their books, it didn't even look like there was a house there. We ended up figuring that out. So they had pulled some permits to like build the structure and everything, but it was just absolute mess. And we did have to end up ripping out all of the drywall, showing them the plumbing, showing them. And so that sucked. And then as we were rehabbing it, this happened. Let me see if I can pull up some of these pictures. We wonder, am I sharing a window or a screen? Let me see. I'm gonna come over here.
You're sharing the whole screen.
Okay, so I can do that. And then we had this house, it got broken into about 8 times while we, yeah, so, and they would destroy everything every single time they broke into it. Yeah, they would tear the house apart. They would, I don't know, they would kill somebody in there or do drugs. I don't know what they were doing in there, but it got broken into 8 times. And here's a crazy story that, I mean, I get that officers work really, really hard, and it's really hard for them, especially in areas like that. But we set up security cameras. We got Simply Safe. And so we were able to literally see people breaking into our house, and we would call the police department and say, hey, there's somebody breaking into our house right now. And they would say, well, is there anybody in danger? And the houses were empty. And so when we didn't want to lie and say, yeah, and so we'd say no, and they'd say, okay. And they wouldn't send anybody or anything. And it really annoyed me because my brother, he's not on here, he works for me, but he was like, one night, he's like, I'll go down there with a gun if I need to. But like, what's that? Like, then you're gonna have to shoot somebody. Like, doesn't make sense. But it was really annoying. That's just that entire process where we're literally watching people break into our house and we cannot do anything about it, especially here being in Hawaii. Because it actually would happen typically while we're still up. It's 8, 9 o'clock here. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. So we're still up and we get the alerts on our phones and we're watching them break into windows, kick down doors. And it happened over and over and over again. It was absolutely ridiculous. And so then that increased our rehab budget. And then this ended up happening, which sucks. Again, this is why I would never buy a house like this again. But it's a learning lesson. And then we started having foundation issues in the house. And so
I can help next time with that.
yeah. So we had at that time we had Toby come out, and Toby did great, but that added to our budget. And so everything just started going wrong with this rehab. And it was not a fun process. So our rehab ended up being about $125,000, up from $50,000, and it ended up taking 9 months to complete versus what I thought would be 60 days, because it kept getting broken into, because of the permitting process, because of everything. And this goes back to one of the things that I think is so important for our business and for anybody that's on here that is wanting to scale flipping and or rental business is we went so far outside of our buy box on this to do it. And every time we go outside of our buy box, we lose money. I don't know this area at all. Honestly, I don't like the fact that we were trying to sell a house this high in this part of town. I know that there are comps to support it, but we know St. Charles and North County. We've probably done 200 flips in like the Florissant North County area. We've probably done another 100 flips in the St. Charles County area. We know those areas really, really well. We have a 65 unit rental portfolio in the Florissant area. And I know that like the back of my hand. I don't know this area at all. And so we were just idiots for buying this house and going outside of our buy box. And I also think another thing that I was thinking through is I was thinking of like the reason we did is because at the time we were pretty slow. And so we got emotional about a deal that I think is a great learning lesson where it's like, hey, even if it's slow and we felt like we needed to buy a house to keep people busy and to make money, we took chances, unnecessary risk that we shouldn't have taken on this one. And so really bummed about that. But we ended up finally completing the house, and it turned out beautiful. I will say that. That's the one thing. It turned out beautiful. It was a beautiful house once it was done. The inside, like I always feel really confident about our rehabs. They're really nice rehabs. And so was really proud of us for that, that we were able to turn around. It did end up costing $125,000 to get it to here. And we listed it. And then this is another thing that I would say, I did completely wrong. And if I could look back now, I would change how I did this. But we got to, let me pull over, come over to this real quick. Are you guys able to see this rehab calculator?
Yep.
So here's another mistake that I made that if I could go back, I would 100% change, is we ended up being into it for, I think at this point when it came time to list, we'd already probably owned it for 200 days, probably more than that, 230 days. Which obviously our interest is getting up there. And then it ended up being about $125,000 rehab. And so like I hated that, obviously. Did not want to lose $53,000. And so instead of and after running numbers, there was a good argument that I could have listed at 450 and it would have sold. And that was what my gut told me to do, is like list at 450, sell this thing and be done with it. Because it'd been such a headache. I did not want to do all of that work to not make money. And so we went on the market at $499,000. And I think that's another huge mistake that we made on this deal. Even though I knew that it probably wasn't a $500,000 house, I wanted to try and make some money on this. And I truly do think that if we would have came out at 449.9, we would have sold it the first weekend, because this was back in May that we listed it. The market was still pretty hot then. And we honestly got a decent amount of showings at 500 or 499. And the feedback was, it's listed too high, it's listed too high. We would tell them to throw out a price. We actually got one offer at 445 on that very first weekend, and we turned it down. And I'm fairly confident that if we had listed at 449 right off the bat, we would have sold it. But we didn't list it at 449 because I wanted to still try and make some money on this. And then we ended up progressively dropping the price. And I do think, especially at that time in the market, right now, maybe not as much, but at that time in the market, because I mean, even this spring was still really hot for us. We were still selling first weekend on the market. Early summer, we were still selling first weekend on the market. A lot of times, multiple asking or multiple offers. So like, and I think that if you don't sell that first week, it develops some sort of like stink to it. And so we had to progressively like start dropping the price. And so we went from $499.9 to $475 to $464 to $449. And it was not selling. And so finally we dropped it to $425, and we got a offer on it at $410. And that was just recently. That was like a month and a half ago. We closed this. So it took another 4 months to sell. That probably shouldn't have taken to sell. And so we ended up losing, let me show you. It was right around $54,000. That's 410. I don't know the exact. It was probably around 300 days that we held it, or maybe 320 days that we held this. Yeah, so right around there. So we ended up losing $55,000 on this deal, which sucked. Was not happy about that. But again, I think there's some good learning experiences that we had, and for everybody on here is buying a house. One, I always tell people, like, don't buy houses that somebody's in the middle of flipping, because you always have to rip it out and do it again. Especially for us, like the quality of work isn't going to be there that we want. And a lot of times we'll get calls on houses where it was a weekend where you're trying to renovate a house and they realize that they're not cut out for that and they want to sell it. And in our mind, we're like, oh, we can just continue to do what you've been doing, but the color scheme is not right for what we want. The way that they did it is not right, because typically they're not professionals doing it. It's just like a weekend thing. And honestly, that's what this couple was that was doing this house. I looked them up, and they're not like professional house builders at all. They just thought it would be fun. And so didn't entirely know what they were doing. And I wouldn't know how to build a new build either. So I don't blame them for that. But was buying that, was buying outside of our buy box. I can't stress that enough. Another thing that I think that is really important to think about too is one of the reasons that we love St. Charles County and we love Florissant and we love the 3-bed, 2-bath brick ranches is because I love to think when we're buying a property about our end buyer pool. And what does our end buyer pool look like? And we want to create a house that can reach the most amount of potential buyers. And so like the 3-bed, the 4-bed houses, that can be just a couple. That could even be a single person. That can be an elderly couple. That can be a couple with kids, especially if it's in an okay school district. Especially if you're in that $200,000 to $400,000 price range, that can reach as many people, well, not as many, not everybody, but it can reach most people in the St. Louis metro area. This house specifically, it's in an area that is gentrifying, but we got broken into 8 times. So there's obviously some stuff in that area that isn't great. So it's in an area that's gentrifying, that a family isn't going to want to move in. It's a Roosevelt school district. So if you have kids, they're either going to private school or, I mean, you're probably not sending them to Roosevelt if you can buy a house like this. It's not an area that an elderly couple is going to really want to move into. So really, after thinking this through, the only person is actually who ended up buying this house is a young professional that makes good money. Like that is the only person that's going to buy this house. It's not going to be a family. It's not going to be an elderly couple. It's going to be a young professional that makes probably into the 6 figures. And so like when you think about that in terms of like the St. Louis metro area, that is probably less than 1% of the people in the St. Louis metro area that are even competing on this house. And so like I think of and it could be a young, maybe not a single professional, but a married couple that still are a long way off from having kids. But it's such a small percentage of the St. Louis metro area that are even interested on a house like this, which is again why I love like the West counties, St. Charles counties, because the buyer pool is just so much bigger in those areas. So that is that's another lesson that we learned. And then I think the last thing is I got greedy on the price. And so like if I could go back, I would not have gotten greedy. I think like right now we're in a phase in our business where we're willing to take money where we're making money, and that has come back to bite us. We just listed a house a couple weeks ago, and we listed it at 115, and the first showing offered us 115, and we were making decent money, and we took it, and we got the next 3 showings. We got 2 offers on, one at 130 and one at 140, which sucks, but I have to just know like we were making money at 115, and I'd rather make money than take a chance and not get greedy, at least at this stage of our business and where the market's at right now. And so, yeah, that's kind of a quick rundown of this one. I'm happy to answer any questions you guys would have on it, or any questions in general, but about this property specifically.
Anybody got anybody?
What's up, Travis? I see Travis.
Travis, go for it, Travis.
Hey, what's up? I'm just curious, why did you think about putting like a screaming alarm in there to
Oh,
keep
we
the break
had
in?
it. Yeah, they
Oh,
would
you
rip
did.
it
Ignored
off. They would destroy that thing.
Got it. Okay. Never
So
mind.
we had that for sure. But
So the alarm would go off, and instead of running, they would just destroy the alarm?
Because they probably know that no cops in the city are gonna go get them.
yeah.
That's
So it was ridiculous. We've actually never really dealt with that before. That was
Same.
one of the first times that we've dealt with that.
Never had it happen to me before.
Yeah. So
Mike,
That's one
what
of
do you
those-
got?
Do you think your bigger problem on this was buying out of your buy box or just not doing the proper due diligence?
probably buying out of our buy box. Because I think that also like buying out of our buy box, that correlates with not doing the proper due diligence. Because we buying out of our buy box, I don't know how to buy a house that is a new build, that like I don't know the proper permits to look at. I don't know. So I think that is the overarching theme of why we lost money, is because we bought outside of our buy box. Obviously, if I was buying a lot of new builds that weren't completed, I would know like what are the permits that I need to look at and what do I need to find. And so, but I just didn't know that. We didn't know that.
No, that would make sense. So if you found something like this in the future, you'd most likely wholesale it or walk away.
Oh, I would punch the wholesaler in the face that offered it to me. And I don't want to.
I won't bring you any new builds then.
Yeah, exactly.
Send them my way too.
Yeah.
But I like the rehab that you have done, and I know I mean I see a lot of flippers that do stuff in the city. They just go the cooker cutter, that they do like black, white, gray floors, and the type of buyers that I have seen, especially with my flips in the city, they like the designs. They like that, the unique aspect. Like I noticed your kitchen with the ceiling. It looked really nice.
Thank you. Yeah. That is my wife. I have nothing to do with that. That's my wife and Steve. But thank you. And I do feel like that is something that we have definitely gone away from in the last 2 years with pretty much all of our retail flips. Our rental properties, we still do repos gray and gray, flooring and white shaker cabinets. But with our retail flips, we're always trying to do something a little bit more fun, a little bit more unique. They have gotten really into like the oak and eggshell white walls, and then adding some accent stuff to it.
Yeah, it looked nice. Now, did you counter whenever you received the offer for 445? Did you counter?
We
Or you
did.
say flat?
Yeah. We countered high. Not all the way to 499. I think we countered at like 475 or 4, and they turned it down. Yeah. And I think one of the reasons for that, and again, this is all hindsight's always 2020, is if I could go back, I would have taken that offer in a heartbeat. But we actually did get a decent amount of showings on that property. I would say, I mean, when I say decent, I would say 6 or 7. So it wasn't like we got 40 showings. But we were getting showings on that at 500. So I thought that, hey, maybe there is a chance that this sells at 500. And there were some comps to prove that it was a 500 house. Actually, I'll show you guys because I think it's important. And you probably know you do know way more about the city than I do. There's no question.
Something else that I wanted to add for everybody on the call as well. You can look up on the St. Louis website all the permits that were pulled for each property.
Mm-hmm.
And it will show you whether it's complete or not. And then you can call the city to verify whether the rough-in was complete or not as well.
So
that's something to keep in mind.
I'm sure we did that. And the reason I say that is because my project manager, he's super familiar with the city. He used to work for is it Pete Rothschild with Red Brick Realty, and he used to be his lead project manager and he did houses and commercial spaces all over St. Louis City. So he knows that area. But even for him, he was like, I cannot figure this out. So and I don't know that's something I kind of keep my hands off of because I'm not going to do any better than Steve. Steve's great at what he does. But I'm sure he did that, or maybe he didn't. I don't know, but I would think that he did.
Got it.
Yeah.
I also, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say one other thing that I think, again, this goes going back outside of our buy box, which I think everything's tying back to that, where I could be wrong. Actually, Elvira, John, I'm assuming that these state streets right here versus like just right over here, it's a different area. Yeah.
It is. It's street by street. It's, very different. So that's why in the city, it's a lot more complicated to count things than unless you really know the area, and that's all I do pretty much. I would say 90% of my flips is in the city.
Yeah. So, and I think that hurt us because I was looking at, honestly, when we listed at 500, I was looking at this house right here. It's the same size, built in 1904. I think our rehab this is a great rehab, but I liked ours better. I thought ours was a little bit more unique. It's a great rehab though, but so I'm looking at properties right here. I did have a couple of these that are new builds. They're the same size. They are an extra bedroom, but they're the same size as ours. I don't know. I'm an idiot. I know that, but that looks like our house and it sold for $556. And so I was like, I think we can sell for 500. But I just don't know the area. And obviously the closer you get to the farther north you get, the better it is, even though it's not that it's 5 streets away. So just a lot of mistakes all around. But yeah.
Cam, for fun, I ran quick comps of how I would have comped it because I don't ever do quarter-mile radiuses in the city. And you actually did great, in my opinion, from a sales price because you got the highest sale by far. I would have given it like a 350-ish ARV, but I think it just goes in terms of the city. It's why I preach to people in the city, you can't do the city unless you know the city because it's just so different. I don't ever cross Gravois. You just have to know where your little neighborhoods are. And I feel like it has to be so hard for you because if you're not here driving those areas and driving those blocks, how are you gonna know?
Yeah. We've done quite a bit in Lindenwood Park, St. Louis Hills, Northampton, Southampton, but that's completely different because I feel like those neighborhoods are pretty area. Yeah. And so I think, this is probably our second flip in we did one in Soulard. that actually, I think Scotty and TJ might have sold that to me. I don't remember. Or TJ sold it on the back end. Yeah, we did one that was like 3-4 years ago, but that's it. And so, yeah, but also that ties back into like the, we got emotional. And I just think you have to take emotions out of real estate where, when you're trying to make a deal work, it's probably not a deal. So, and I think that it had been a slow month for us. I mean, this was a year ago. It'd been a slow month for us. And we were like, we need to make something work. And so.
Damn, I wish everyone could hear you like say that and really process it. Cause I feel like that's where more people lose more money. We have a borrower right now trying to buy this house that I think she's gonna lose on. And I think it's just because, you just get you feel like you have to have a deal. So you go outside your buy box, you do unusual things, and that can be really dangerous.
Yeah. So, yeah, so this was our worst one that we've ever done. I think that's not a terrible thing. We don't lose a lot. And so I'm happy about that. This is probably our second house that we've ever lost money on. And the other one was just a couple grand loss. And then I think I lost money for Brian a couple times, but so, David.
How's it going, my friend?
Good.
Thank you for sharing your story. Bummer that you lost on that one, but hopefully you win on many, many more. I had a real quick question. So you're in Hawaii. I travel quite a bit too. How do you manage this real estate business of yours in St. Louis? Obviously, you have a team. I think I heard you mention your brother or somebody like that.
Yeah.
In a real quick synopsis, how do you manage this from Hawaii, and how many members do you have on your team in St. Louis handling this?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out. So we don't have this dialed in. It's not perfect by any means. But right now we have three acquisition managers. One is kind of a fourth, but he also does our retail flips. We have a lead manager, we have a marketing manager, we have a project manager, and then we have me and Lexi. So and then that's kind of on our flipping company or house buying company. We don't wholesale a ton. We probably wholesale a house a month. We have done a lot of wholesales. We actually just wholesale a house this weekend that I bought from Casey that worked out really well. But we wholesale a decent amount, and then we flip quite a bit. And so, and then our rental portfolio, we have 2 VAs, a maintenance tech, and then we have I don't know what we call her. She's on the ground there.
When you say we, is this just you and your wife's company, and these are people that you have employed, or are these people all ownerships in your company? This is you and your wife running this?
Me and my wife. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then we started a fund with about a year ago. It's going okay. Raised $7 million. It's basically we're purchasing houses, rental properties in cash, and keeping them paid off. And the investors are getting 100% of the cash flow on those, which turns into about a 6 to 7% cash on cash return. So that's considered like the pref is how we've worded it. The pref is 100% of the cash flow. And then it's a 60-40 split on the equity. So I'm a 40% owner and they're a 60% owner. The goal is to, if interest rates come down, to be able to refi them out. But that was one of the ways about a year and a half ago when interest rates had gotten so high to where we couldn't buy rental properties anymore. We'd probably bought 10, but we had ended up leaving probably 40 or 50 grand into each one to make them cash flow. And I was running out of money. And I'm like, I want to continue building a rental portfolio I can't leave $40,000 tied up into every house to make it cash flow. So we
Yeah.
started a fund that we have bought probably about $3 million worth of rental properties this year in.
Cool.
So yeah.
Well, you've got an interesting story, my friend. It kind of reminds me of the movie with Tom Hanks, The Money Pit. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's a movie in the
I have
80s.
not.
You should watch that. So you should have watched that before this house. But
Yeah.
it's called The Money Pit. It's an interesting movie. So
Awesome.
well, I'm gonna hop off, man, unless somebody else answers questions. If I could just make one request, please
Yeah.
don't lose any money with Brian because he's my business partner. So thanks for sharing, Cameron. Good luck to you on your next house.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So Dave's an investor in Susanna and I's fund. So just so you guys know, and Dave wanders around the world. He's in Bayfield, Wisconsin, I think today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Might be out in Hawaii, in a couple weeks. I guess your RV can't get to Hawaii very good, so maybe you won't go to Hawaii.
It cannot, but I've been to Hawaii before. It's a good place to live, I'm sure.
Dave, how does that make you feel when we do lend to Cam? How does that make you feel when one of our borrowers does lose money sometimes?
Well, it doesn't make me feel anyways because I'm not emotionally attached to it. However, I would like it to swing the other way around, obviously. But you know what? If you get up to bat 10 times, you're going to strike out 1 or 2. So
and
it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously Cam is a great borrower of ours, and along with other people. And just because he lost money on that deal doesn't mean we lost money on that deal.
That's an even better answer.
That's true.
I knew that was coming.
Ah,
I don't think we lended, or you guys lended on that deal. But I should have had you look at it because I might not have bought it.
And would have told you to run, Cam, or to buy it deeper.
But on that one, yeah, you guys didn't lend, but you still would have been paid if you did lend on it. So
Anybody else got questions for Cam, whether it's on that deal or just how he runs his business or anything? Just jump in.
Yeah, I've got one. Hey, Cam, so you said you hired a project manager. What were you looking for? And, how has that worked out for you having this project manager?
that is a great question. He's amazing. And so I'll say a couple things without saying too. We are on our second, and our first one was great. He was incredible. I don't think we knew what we were looking for on the first one, where it's like, oh, you have a construction background. That's great. Come be a project manager for us. What we learned is that's not the ideal person that we're looking for. We're looking for somebody that can manage, like right now we have 15 projects going. So we're looking for somebody that can juggle 15 projects. He doesn't swing his own hammer. He's sitting behind an Excel spreadsheet and filling out an Excel spreadsheet and making sure that we're on budget and we're tracking everything down to the penny. And he's going and he's visiting the houses once a week to make sure that they're moving along, but he's not the person that's swinging his hammer. And so I think that really, in my opinion, what you need in that position is somebody that is going to be more of obviously as a project manager hasn't, but more of a manager and be able to stay on track with budgets. And so his disc profile is a really low, it's probably like I don't know, 30D, really low I, super high S&C. And that he has been incredible for us. I love him. And he doesn't miss things. He doesn't, the only area that we, and this is just a learning process as me, is like a leader, I guess, would be, I'm the exact opposite from him. And so for what he wants is like, I want to be told what to do and I'm going to do it perfectly and do it really, really well. And my personality is the exact opposite, where it's like, give me the overarching goal and then don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me how to get there. And I want to run 1,000,000 miles an hour and I'll figure it out and I'll do it well. But, and so like there was a little bit of that when we first started where it was like, hey, just rehab this house. Like, here you go. And it was like, no, but I need a process and I need a system behind it. And my wife was super helpful in working with that and with him, but he has done absolutely amazing. Has changed our business for sure, especially because of the amount of projects that he can handle at once and take on at once. And whereas like our other one was great, an incredible guy, but he was actually going to the houses and kind of, I mean, he could probably only handle 2 to 3 at a time. And part of that was he was going there and he was sometimes doing his own work if he couldn't find somebody to get it done. And it was just I don't know. Am I making sense on that? Where like there's definitely a big difference between somebody that has a background in construction and somebody who has a background in like the corporate world. Because he worked for Pete Rothschild, which was Red Brick Realty and what was his other company? And then he worked for Mills. They did like the 400, I think it's 400 or 500 unit apartment complex in St. Charles. And so he was used to doing 30, 40 a month. I mean, granted, they were apartments when he was with Mills, but he had processes and systems set up for everything. And so
how long did it take for you to step out from that role and for that person to be good on their own?
Well, it was pretty quick. We got super lucky with him. This wasn't like he was my next door neighbor. And so we also got, and that's typically not the way that it is, where it's like you just fall into like having an incredible project manager. But we got super fortunate with him, and it was really quick. I mean, he basically changed the way that we do things on the like project management side, where I mean, we would keep an Excel spreadsheet of like all of our costs and expenses, and we would have a scope of work, but his was just so much more detailed and so much better than ours. And like, I want to show you guys this because it's overkill, but it really did change our business in a way. Let me see if I have it. I don't know if I have it. All right, maybe I won't show it to you. Okay, yeah, here's a good example. This is a house that we did a long time ago. And this was the first house that he did with us. But I just want to show you how it like changed our business, and we've dwindled this down. But I think like the professionalism that he brought in by even putting this together changed our business, where a lot of times we would have a scope of work that we would just write out on a Google Doc. And I know that anybody that flips houses know this, is that 80% takes 2 weeks and the last 20% takes 3 months because you miss so many things. And he came in and immediately changed that for us, where we do not miss anything on a house. Well, we miss permits, obviously, and we get broken into, but for the most part, we don't miss anything. And like, so this was something that he put together for us, that he used with when he was working for his other companies, where it's like, and this is overkill, but this is the very first house that he did for us. And you literally cannot miss anything on this, because you walk into, and this isn't filled out, but you walk into the foyer and it has every single thing that needs to be done in the foyer. And then it says who's getting the material, the contractor, notes on it. And then you go to the stairs from the first to the second floor, and there's every single thing that needs to be done on that. And then the living room, and then the hallway, and then the half bath in the hallway, and then the dining room. And a lot of it's repetitive, like this same flooring, the same paint, the same lights, but then we don't miss anything, and we don't have to manage the contractors throughout the entire process. It's just like, here you go. This is everything that needs to be done. Call us when it's over. Good job. Sorry, my kids are. That's amazing. Love you so much. Sorry, guys. Bye-bye. Yeah, so like from literally every single room in the house down to outlets, light fixtures, every single thing that needs to be done on the house. And so this right here changed our business, where we no longer have to oversee projects because they have every single thing that they need before that they walk into the house. And that's printed off and at the front of the house, and then that's hung up in every single room of the house. And so it's not that, hey, we're 80% of the way there, and now we have to figure out the last 20% that takes 3 months and calling people back once they've left or anything like that. And so just like stuff like that, that's something that I would never do. I would never have the time, the patience, or the capacity to do that. And Steve, because he's a high S&C on the disc, he enjoys doing stuff like that.
So I have a poor man's version of that. What would it take for me to bum that off you and just get your template so I can use it?
Let me think. I'll send it to you. I was trying to think of something fun. Wholesale.
And then the other question: Did you tell your daughter, like, was that pre-planned? Like, hey, come in at 12:52 and like say something sweet, and I'll give you a hug. That was good.
She knows every call that I'm on, she's supposed to kind of like sneak in and make me look like a good dad.
Yeah, sell my dad a house. All right, see you, daddy.
That's fun. We have that set up. So, cool. Anybody else have any questions or thoughts?
Cam, I owe you a call still, and this was one of the things I was going to ask when I called you. But yeah, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe on this call, you said you were struggling with direct marketing, direct to sell.
Still
Sort of trying, and where are you seeing any success?
So we just did. We're spending, like, this month we spent $22,000 on direct to seller marketing. I think 14 of that was direct mail through Ballpoint. And we've tested Yellow Letter HQ. We've tested REI print mail. Far and away, Ballpoint is giving us the best results. Far and away. And granted, like, we didn't do what REI print mail said is their best working one, because I just didn't feel ethical about it, which is the checks. They said that they get a lot of calls off of the checks, but I don't want to send somebody, I don't want to start off a relationship on the wrong foot by saying, hey, we're going to buy your house for X amount, and it really be 50 grand under that. So we do Ballpoint, I mean, this is just the first month, but we've seen a significant amount of calls with Ballpoint, and we put one out of that, and there's probably still some that are going to come in, but we put one under contract. We probably have 2 or 3 more that we're close on. Yeah, so I don't have direct to seller marketing figured out yet. I don't think anybody does that I've talked to. That's part of the problem. I do think that there are a lot of techniques that we could be using that potentially would drive in more sales, which is just like the process of like we changed some things. So for instance, one of the things that we changed just recently was we would try and essentially on the call in overqualify a lead, just so we don't waste our time going and walking a house. And I think that, like, if I were to call, Rachel, or Rachel was to call in and she was like, just give me a number, and I say, well, what do you want for the house? She's going to give me the highest number that she can possibly imagine. That's going to set a terrible price anchor. And so now we try and keep our call-ins as short as possible, and just, hey, we're going to be in that area tomorrow afternoon. Do you mind if we stop by and check it out? And so then we can sit down with her and explain like why we came up with the offer that we came up with. We definitely still, like, I'm not going to go away from, we walk every house in person before we make an offer. I know that there's the companies that I'm seeing that are getting a lot of success, because I talk to almost daily companies throughout the United States. They're locking everything up over the phone. And I'm just not willing to go there. So we do struggle with that.
Well, I appreciate that struggle because I feel like that's the right way to do it. That's the ethical way to do it. So, hopefully, we can keep doing it that way and these other guys go away someday.
That's the hope.
Yeah. So, we got like 3 minutes left. Oh, all right. I was gonna ask you a question, but Blake's got his hand up. Let Blake go. What do you
I'll
got,
be
Blake?
quick so you can. I'm a wholesaler. I haven't done a flip yet. I don't have the funding to do a flip, but I came across a property I missed out on where it could have been wholesaleed really well with probably a $50,000 spread. Would you be opening to JBing on something like that in the future?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I'll send it. It's not under contract yet, so I'll send you that over. Go from there. I just don't have the money side of things, and I also don't want to jump into flipping without having experience.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
I'll text you right now.
Oh, do you have my number?
I don't think I do actually. I have you on Facebook, so what's your number?
I'll throw it in the chat.
Cam, when you're putting in the chat, is there any other good ways people should get a hold of you if they want to connect?
I don't. Oh, I was just say I don't check my email. No, just text probably.
Well, as long as you're talking about yourself there a little bit, Cam, while you're doing that, and I guess it is about time for us to wrap up here. I know you do a little bit. Thank you for taking the time to being with us today. First of all, that was awesome, and thank you for the humility to be willing to talk about a bad deal, because there's a lot of people that just aren't willing to do that because they don't want to look bad. So I appreciate that too. What can we do for you? I know you do some educating and stuff. Can we promote that for you at all, or anything you want to promote?
Yeah, education. I'm having a blast doing that. It's honestly what you guys teach. It's like the main thing that I teach in there is because I don't consider, I only want to teach something that I'm an expert at. And I don't consider myself an expert at direct to seller marketing, but I think that I am one of the best in the world. And this is not meant to be arrogant, but I think I'm really, really great at building relationships and finding houses through that. And so, and there's such a low barrier to entry for people where it's like, go to a meetup and connect with as many people as possible and go out to coffee with them. Actually, I had Casey on with the group talking about funding a while back. And it was cool because I actually have his business card still that he gave me from 2019. And Casey and I've done a ton of deals together. He's listed properties from me. I've bought houses from him. And it was just from going to a meetup, getting his business card. And then we met at Salt and Smoke in St. Charles in 2019. And now 6 years later, we've done a ton of business and became really great friends. And like, that is like what I teach is just what are some strategies and tips to do that. And then obviously like the negotiation and analyzing stuff. So but then also, I guess we still are actively building our company. So if anybody has any deals that they have, I always would love to see them. We're still buying houses every single week in St. Louis.
Sounds good. When's the next time you're going to be in St. Louis?
Probably December. I think we're going to spend December in St. Louis.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very good. All right. Well, I appreciate you joining us today, Cam. That was awesome. Rachel, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah. Thank you, Cam. This was awesome. I also appreciate you joining us. So this was awesome. Okay, so we've got next Wednesday, we will be back on our call at noon. So feel free to join us there. And then our next meetup, just so everyone knows, is Thursday, November 21st. That'll actually be the last one for the year. We got Mike and Jack Ehlers. Brett and I are actually going to go see one of their new developments tomorrow. So we'll send some pictures, but they'll be a great in-person meetup to go to. So, and if you guys are looking to build your team, I know Cam kind of talked about Ballpoint Marketing. They're one of our vendors. They've got good deals for Buyers Club to do their marketing. They are awesome. Dustin Hogue was on this call. He does one-on-one coaching too. funding, talk to Casey Samuels. And also I wanted to point out, we got a new vendor this week. We got Rock Solid Creations. So if anyone is looking to get granite or quartz countertops in their properties, reach out to them. They have a special Buyers Club discount. So just let them know you're with Buyers Club and they'll tell you which granite and quartz countertops they have for us. So anyway, but thank you guys so much. We will see you all next Wednesday.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, John.